So today's topic is agricultural income. Income Tax Act 1961 section 10 subsection 1 according to the agricultural income is exempted from income tax. So that because it is a state, it is the agricultural income included in the state. It is related to state government, so that is why it is exempted from income tax. But non-agricultural income is taxable under Income Tax Act. So here let's see how agricultural income is calculated and how and what are the exemptions that are given to the agricultural income and what are the unexempted incomes are calculated for the Income Tax Act. According to Act, the agricultural income is included in the total income to determine the tax on the non-agricultural income. So here the agricultural income is exempted from tax, but non-agricultural income is calculated for tax. So let's see what is agricultural income. So here, if the owner or tenant of the agricultural land situated in India receives sale money of crop in cash or in kind. So when the agricultural income is exempted means if the owner or tenant sold the crop for money or in kind, which is exchangeable with crop. So and that land should be in India. So income generated from that land which is situated in India, and if they are selling the crop which is farmed in the agricultural land, that income is exempted from income tax. So income received from the house or building situated in the farm have provided the agricultural land situated in rural area shall be treated as agricultural income. So here if anybody having any building or house in the farm's land, if it is using for agriculture purpose, even if the income is generated from that building, the income is also exempted under the agricultural it is treated as agricultural income and it is exempted from income tax. Conditions for agriculture income to be treated under Income Tax Act. First, the rent or revenue derived from land. The rent or revenue derived from land means it should be definitely using for farming. So then only the rent and revenue which is received or generated by that land is exempted from income tax as under agricultural income. If the land is used for agricultural purpose, the next type is if the land is used for agricultural purpose. If the land is used for agricultural purpose, there are basic conditions which should be fulfilled under that second situation. First is basic operations. Basic operations are those operations which are directly related to farming and skills of labor, human skills and labor on the prior to germination of plant. Then these planted are known as basic operations. So if the land is basically using for agricultural purpose, and if they are farming those land, then the land is called as agricultural land, and those operations are called as basic operations. And subsequent operations are those operations. These are the operations which occur after the farming. So these are the procedure that are related to farmed product, which should be it is a process of making final product. So these are called subsequent operations. So these are the two conditions under different situation if the land is used for agricultural purpose. So the agricultural purpose is depended upon two basic conditions, and those are basic operations and subsequent operations. And the third thing is the income should be treated as agricultural income. Then the third kind of condition is third kind of rule is land must be situated in India. So the land, whatever the land is using for farming purpose or agricultural purpose, that land should be definitely in Indian territory, because the tax is calculated only which is generated in Indian territory or in India, in India. Then in case of agricultural income also, that land should definitely be situated in Indian territory. Then only and that land should definitely use for farming. Then it is treated as agricultural land, and whatever the income generated from that land is treated as agricultural income. There are some special notes regarding to the treating income from farming land as agricultural land. These are the cases which are related to agricultural, but still they are having a specific importance. For example, for nursery income, whether the assessee has performed basic operations or not, so it is treated as the basic conditions are if the basic operations are performed by the nursery person, then it is called as agricultural income. But if a person is buying those nursery plants and then he selling to the to other persons, then it is called as non-agricultural income. That non-agricultural income is taxable, and it is calculated for under total income. Income derived from sale of seeds by an agriculturalist is agricultural income. So the seeds are directly related to the farming. Then these comes under basic operations. So that's why it is completely agricultural income. So it is exempted from tax. Next topic is partly agricultural and partly non-agricultural income. If an income comprises of both agricultural and non-agricultural incomes, in such case it becomes necessary to the part of SSC to segregate incomes. So if an SSC having income which is generated from agriculture, but in that if there is any non-agricultural income, so the income, the agricultural income should be segregated into agriculture and non-agricultural income. Example, profit from the sugar factory, if the assessee owning or leases the agricultural land and the agricultural output is non-agricultural income. So sugar land is agricultural, but the sugar which is farmed is non-agricultural income. So in the process of determining tax liability of an individual, non-agricultural income is included in the total income. This process is called integrating the income or clubbing the income. So if any assessee having non-agricultural income, that is included in the total income as clubbing the income. Now see example for agriculture and non-agricultural income. So here we are taking the tea and coffee to segregate the agricultural income into agricultural and non-agricultural income. If an assessee income is from a tea plant and tea, coffee, rubber industry, then the treatment of income is as under. So partly agricultural income and partly business income. Here first thing is income from growing and manufacturing tea in India. So it is treated the income, total income, 60% is treated as agricultural income and 40% treated as business income, because after manufacturing the tea they will sell for profit, so it becomes non-agricultural income. So income growing currying of coffee in India. So if any assessee growing coffee and in India, so now it is 75% agriculture income and 25% business income. In case of roasting also, if the coffee is growed, curd, roasted in India, then 60% is agricultural income, 40% is business income. Now income from growing and manufacturing of rubber in India. So if the rubber trees are growing in India and they are processing rubber from those trees, then 65% is agricultural income, because they are farming them and they are processing for profit though. So it is 35% is non-agricultural income, that is business income. Now let's see an example for these aspects. So now let's see an example for agriculture and non-agricultural income. Here Mr. Akshit Rao estate in rubber, tea and coffee, and he derives income from them. He also has nursery wherein he grows plants and sells them. Current previous year he furnishes the following particulars. Calculate his non-agricultural income and agricultural income for the current assessment year. Here the manufacturing of rubber is cost is 10 lakhs. Manufacturing of tea is 7 lakhs. Manufacturing of coffee grown and curd 5 lakhs. Sale of plants from nursery which are grown in pots 2 lakhs. Now let's see the solution. Now let's see calculation of non-agricultural income. So the Akshit Rao manufacture rubber rupees of 10 lakhs. So here 35% is treated as non-agricultural income. So here from 10 lakhs, 35% is 3 lakhs 50,000 is the non-agricultural income. So manufacture of tea. So manufacture of tea is 40% is calculated as non-agricultural income. So his total tea total manufactured tea cost is 7 lakhs. From that 40% is 2 lakhs 80,000 is non-agricultural income from manufacturing tea. Now let's see coffee. Non-agricultural income from coffee. So here he manufactured 5 lakhs rupees coffee. From that 25% is treated as non-agricultural income. So from 5 lakhs 25% is 1 lakh 25%. 1,25,000 is non-agricultural income. So the total non-agricultural income is 7,55,000 is the total non-agricultural income. So here computing agricultural income. So the remaining incomes are treated as agricultural incomes. So now let's see the agricultural income. So manufacturing of rubber, so after deducting 35%, the remaining will be the agricultural income. So manufacturing tea, 60% is agricultural income, so that is for 4,20,000. So coffee agricultural income 75%, that is 3,75,000 is the agricultural income. So sale of plants from nursery, that is completely agricultural income, because he performed a basic operation, so it is treated as agricultural income. So now the total agricultural income is 16,45,000. Tax treatment of agricultural income. Let's see how agricultural income is treated while calculating income tax. Here are the steps to calculate the tax on agricultural income. So first let's see, we have to add the agricultural income and non-agricultural income and calculate tax on total income. So first we have to get the total income and we have to segregate the agricultural income and non-agricultural income. So next step is add the agricultural income to the exempted income limit or tax-free income, that is 2,50,000 for resident, non-senior citizen person, and 3 lakhs for the resident and senior citizen, and 5 lakhs for the resident and super senior citizen. Calculate the tax on it, that is tax on exempted income, rebate on agricultural income. So these are the things we have to calculate while adding the agricultural income in to total income. So there is a formula that is income tax. So that income tax is calculated total tax on total income minus tax on total exempted income. So first we have to calculate the tax on total income. Again we have to calculate the tax on exempted income. Later, so the exempted tax is deducted from the tax which is calculated on total income. Next is rebate. If the assessee having an eligibility criteria for rebate, so then the rebate is deducted from income tax, which is calculated by adding all the incomes which the assessee has. So next, calculating the tax liability. So the tax liability is calculated by adding actual income tax plus surcharge plus health and educational cess. So here there is a note which is related to the calculation of tax. If the taxable income exceeds 50 lakhs and it is between 1 crore, the surcharge 10% is added to the total income. Where the total income exceeds the rupees 1 crore and the surcharge is increases to 15%. If the total income is up to 3,50,000, then the assessee will be having the tax rebate. So whatever the tax is there, the tax will deducted in a rebate. So let's see an illustration for calculating agricultural and non-agricultural income as we see in above steps. So there are details of Mr. Ravindra. He has agricultural income and non-agricultural income. Agricultural income is 5 lakhs and non-agricultural income is 83,000. So here the agricultural income is completely exempted because it is state's aspect. So here non-agricultural income is less than 2,50,000. So it is less than the limit which is decided by the central government for calculating tax. It is an exempted amount. So the non-agricultural income is less than 2,50,000 for assessee. So there will be no tax or nil tax for the assessee. Here is let's see another example for calculating the agricultural and non-agricultural income tax. Mr. Santosh Singh has submitted the following particulars of his income. Calculate the tax liability for the assessment year 2019 and 20. The agricultural income of assessee is 40,000 and non-agricultural income is 3,52,000. So here the non-agricultural income is exceeding the limit. So here we have to calculate the total in tax on total income. So for that we have to add the agricultural and non-agricultural income. So after adding those things, that is the amount is 3,92,000. So here the slab rate for up to 5 lakhs is 5%. So here total income into 5%, the tax is 12,500. So these 12,500 is so after the calculation is that 3,92,500 into 5% minus we have to deduct the rebate which is given to the assessees who are earning 5 lakhs below income. So here after deducting 2,500 rupees, the total tax is on total income is 7,125. The next step, adding the agriculture income to basic exempted income and calculating the tax. The tax that is 2,90,000 into 5%. Again we have to deduct the rebate to 12,500. So that is 2,000 rupees. Now the income tax, how the income tax is calculated by using the formula. So first we have to take the tax on total income. Again we have to deduct the tax on exempted income. So tax on total income is 7,125 and exempted tax on exempted income is 2,000. So after deducting those 2,000, 5,125 is the tax. Non-agricultural income is more than the limit, so there is no any rebate for the assessee. Then next see the tax liability of the assessee. Here actual income is 5,000, income tax is 5,125 and we have to add the health and educational cess 4%. So that 4% is on 5,125, that is 205 rupees. The total tax liability of the assessee is 5,330 rupees. Now let's see some exempted incomes for individuals and certain institutions and authorities and to non-citizens. So here let's see the exempted incomes for individual. That travel concession to employees. So travel concession is exempted from income tax, and allowances given and perquisites provided to the government employees are fully exempted, and payment from recognized provident fund is also exempted from income tax. For scholarship received by the students is also exempted, and agricultural income is completely exempted, and gratuity received by a government employee is fully exempted, and LIC policy amount received is also exempted from income tax. And next to certain institutions and authorities, income received by local authorities, example municipalities, is fully exempted, and income of scientific research associations are also, whatever the income they earn, it is also exempted from income tax, because the research purpose definitely will be for the betterment of society and for the betterment of the country. So it is useful. I mean, if the tax is exempted, more research process can be done by the research institution. For that, the government is giving exemption for scientific research associations, and income of public or religious or charitable trusts, because these are all non-profitable organization. If still they are earning any income that exceeds the limit of the of which is decided by the government. But the religious charitable trusts will work for a society betterment, so they definitely deserve the tax to be exempted to do more charitable work for betterment of society. And income of hospitals which are run on charitable basis, so not private hospitals, which hospitals are running on charitable basis, those hospitals income is also exempted from income tax. And income of hospital and to non-citizens means salary of staff of the foreign enterprises not engaged in any business employed in India other than as staff members or in the mission. So if they are not related to India, but if still they are working in the Indian territories, those persons, and where a person is employed in foreign ship and his stay is less than 90 days in India, that person income is also exempted from tax. And exempted income to unit located in CESO 100% if the export profit for the 5 years and 50% export profit for 6 to 10 years is exempted from tax. Now let's see the principles of income tax. The first principle of tax is equality. According to this principle, rich shall bear higher tax burden, and this rule of equality advocates that the burden must be directly proportionate to the income and wealth of a person. That means if a person earning high income, then the person has to pay high tax, and whatever the income the person is earning, according to that ratio, the tax should be paid. So this brings the equality between the richer and poorer, and it is also reasonable to encourage more and more tax payers. And next principle is principle of certainty. According to Adam Smith tax policy, must be specific, and there should not be any confusion about the tax amount and time of the payment. That means the calculation of tax and the payment of tax should not be confusing, because the taxpayer must know how much tax is going to pay, and the person definitely should know when the tax should be paid. This is the certainty brings between among the taxpayers, and if there is no any confusion, the person can clearly pay the tax on regular timings. And principle of economy. So it states the minimum possible expenditure is to be incurred to collect the tax. That means the tax policies should be economy, because it should not be a burden to the department for collecting the tax. It should be definitely economical to collect the tax, because there is no any meaning if they are spending more and more money for collecting the tax. It is not useful for the development of the country. And the convenience, principle of convenience. So the tax department should allow the persons to pay tax according to their convenience, because the department give them enough time to pay the income tax. And the next principle is simplicity. This principle states that need not to have a simple taxation system, need to have a simple taxation system in India. This is the best example is now GST. This is the simplest tax system which is introduced by Indian government. Before that, there are different types of taxes are there, but there were also simple, but it was taking time. Now GST is eliminate all the things, and this is the simplest method of calculating tax. So this principle simplicity states that calculation of tax should definitely be simple. And next principle is principle of elasticity. The tax policies of the government should contain flexibility. It should be capable of increasing the revenue in time of emergency situations like war and floods. So the tax systems or tax rules should be flexible because there could be uncertain situations. In that situations, the people cannot pay the tax, so there should be the rules should be flexible when uncertain situation happens like war and flood. So with war and floods, the people can lose lot of assets and lot of money, lot of courage, lot of like lot of mental disturbance. So in that situations, the person is not able to pay the tax. So the tax laws should be flexible in those elastic or flexible in those situations. And the principle of diversity. This principle states that there should be many tax instead of single tax. That means there could be a confusion of calculating tax and how to calculate tax. So the rules and regulations should definitely be made clear to calculate the tax. And next is principle of coordination. In a federal setups like our country, there should be proper coordination between taxes imposed by central and taxes imposed by governments and local authority. If there is no any coordination between the state and central, the people get confused, and it can lead to the unhealthy practices and tax evasion in the country.